not only a piece of unrelated empirical knowledge about the degeneracy thesis. This must have had a wider context, theoretical context. What was this context? What was the idea of degeneracy?
Okay, so I think we have to be careful because different people were using this in different ways. There's nothing, I've looked hard, and there's nothing that I've discovered that suggests that Buffon was trying to use this argument in a political or an economic way. He genuinely thought that based on cold and humidity and the data, as bad as it was, that he got, demonstrated that he was right about the theory of New World degeneracy. But when it came to people like DePauw and Raynal, and there are others in England that I didn't talk about, and all over Europe, those were people who were using the argument differently. So for example, Frederick, the King of Prussia, was very, very worried about Prussians with money going over to the New World because people saw it as an area where there might be all sorts of resources that they could tap into. Even if everything was degenerate, that didn't mean there wasn't gold or silver or other things there. So European leaders, including Frederick, were really worried about people taking their money out of their country and bringing it over to the New World. So Frederick hired Cornelius DePauw, who said that if you go over there, you'll degenerate. He hired DePauw to head a new bureau in the government whose sole function was to figure out how to stop people from taking their money over to America. So the larger, broader context of it, above and beyond the natural history, was that it was a way to keep people and their money in Europe because European leaders were worried that people would migrate over to the United States.
What about the biological context? I mean, the pre-Darwinian theory of evolution. Is there any relation to that?
Well, yes, but only indirectly. So Buffon was, in fact, a very good anthropologist as well as biologist, and he wrote quite a bit about sort of, I wouldn't say the origin of species in the Darwinian sense, but he did write a lot about what species are and what they aren't. He also trained Jean-Baptiste Lamarck, who came up with the alternative theory for how natural selection worked. But there's no real sort of evolutionary, even pre-evolutionary scientific underpinnings to this argument that I could find. I mean, there are all these sort of little stories, like Darwin, when he sailed over to the Galapagos, had read Buffon, and of course Buffon's argument applied to South America as well as North America. So Darwin wrote in his journal that after having read Buffon, he assumed that life in South America would be small and degenerate and weak. But that's not what he found. Thank you very much.